All right, camera speeds, quiet on set. This is scene 20A, Cynthia interview. You may begin.
Could you start by introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about your experience with Harpswell Coastal Academy?
Well, I'm Cynthia Schmerin. I've lived in Brunswick since 2011, and I've been involved with the school since about 8 or 9 years when I joined the board.
You know, I hate to do this, but...
Yeah, it's okay. Do you want more me background, or is that...
yeah, more background of you is...
Okay, because it doesn't actually ask that, it just asks about with the school, but...
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
She says, yes, I
Alright.
do want you. I've thought about it and I want you.
Okay.
Down. Good job.
Okay. So, can you re-ask that? Say some more personal stuff.
Say some more, yeah. Could you start by introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about your experience with Harpswell Coastal Academy?
Yeah, I'm Cynthia Schmerin. I'm a retired professor of classics, which means ancient Greek and as little Latin as I could get away with, archaeology, language, history, mythology. I spent my career at the University of Texas, but I'm actually a New Englander. I grew up in Massachusetts, and when I retired, I wanted to get back to New England. And so my partner and I moved to Brunswick, Maine. We got to know the school about 8 or 9 years ago and joined the board and have been involved in that capacity ever since.
How did you first get involved with HCA?
I was working as a volunteer at the Democratic Town Committee in Brunswick. It was the end of an election season, and we were closing up our office, and we had extra chairs. And I had met another board member of the school at that point who said maybe the school could use the chairs. So I got in contact with John Denary, who was then the head of school, and I met him. He came in a truck to where we were trying to unpack our office and picked up a bunch of chairs, and we started talking about the school and about its project-based curriculum. And I told him about my experience in elementary school, where I went to a school that had something called central subjects, so that instead of having English class and history class and art class that had nothing to do with each other, everything was focused on a particular culture. What worked for me was that in the 4th grade we were Greeks. We didn't study the Greeks, we were Greeks. In art class we made things to wear, and we made shields. We had the Olympic Games. Our English reading was classical mythology. Our history was Greek history. So pretty much except for math and science, it was total immersion in a culture. Other years, different cultures. But the 4th grade is probably why I became a classics professor. And the experience of focusing things in a different way and having you do things more than sit and listen to things was pretty similar to HCA, and it kind of resonated with me.
Describe your experience serving on the board of HCA.
Well, I joined the board at the insistence, maybe I should say, of Sally McKenzie, who was then I don't know if she's the board chair at that point, but she pretty soon after became the chair of the board. And it was a learning curve. It took me a while to sort of figure out what we needed to do and how to do it. I understood the role of a board. I'd been on boards before, but not for an entity like this. Always a small group, always thinking together. I've really enjoyed the people that I've met doing that.
Do you have any favorite memories?
Wait, I'm sorry, brief pause.
Yeah, the dog.
I think the dog might be sadly interrupting a little bit, and I think
Okay.
it's best for the sake
Good,
of the
let's
interview.
get her out of here.
I don't know, in that last question, I don't know how much gets picked up on the lab mic, but
But
I wouldn't.
It's because she smiles too much.
She smiles
Too
too
happy.
much.
It makes noise when she smiles. All right,
All I
let's
hear-
go
all
see
I-
Aunt Angie.
All I hear is bells.
Let's take your cheese and go see Aunt Angie.
There could be a chance, but I know working with the loud mics, something like that.
Yeah.
Probably.
She's beautifully behaved, but because she smiles all the time, they're afraid the mic might be picking it up.
Oh, okay.
So that's her cheese. This is a her. And honestly, if this is a pain, she can go in the car. I can put her in the car.
Well,
Just
if
let me know.
Yeah.
If she'll stay with
She
you.
may find the activity,
Yeah.
a
Oh, she'll
lot,
be.
but-
No. She'll be fine with it. It's just whether it's annoying for you
Oh.
to keep track of her. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Unless you still recording. Sorry.
I am.
You're.
It's like 45 seconds, okay?
It's not. It's not. It's. I have to edit. Oh.
Actually, it was 2 minutes.
2 minutes of wait time? Okay, sorry. That's
Alexa!
only like
Alexa, get your hidden
5
game.
gigabytes. It's not that bad.
Ah,
Well,
5 gigabytes, Jesus.
Okay. Sorry. Nope. Never mind.
Alright, we're still going?
Okay, what?
What was it? What was
would you
the?
like to just redo the question?
Yeah, I don't remember which question.
Yeah.
We were
No,
like, where were we?
We were in between questions.
Describe your experience serving on the board of HCA.
It's been a learning curve. The board's changed configuration somewhat over time. I've really enjoyed the people I've met, and it's nice to be with a group that has everybody there wants the best for the school and believes in the school, and has different things they bring to the table. I mean, I don't have financial experience. We've had teachers on the board, business people, bankers. So it's been interesting to see how these different people with different perspectives on things kind of collaborate to try to do their best.
Do you have any favorite memories or significant experiences?
Actually, the very first time I came to the school was one of my favorite. And every time I visited since, sitting in on crew or going to recess or popping into a class, the time that I actually see the school doing what it does and students doing what they do and faculty doing what they do are probably my favorite memories. But the very first visit I made to the school before I got on the board, I went into a science class and they were doing Rube Goldberg machines. Golf clubs were involved, rubber chickens were involved. It was physics, but nobody was saying so. They were just figuring out that if you need the ball to go up the hill here, it has to go down this hill at a certain velocity or it's not going to make it up. And I just thought, this is what education should be like. This, not rows of chairs and somebody at the front droning on, but people figuring stuff out. I like this. So that actually was one of the fun experiences that I had visiting the school. Kind of lost my heart to it right there.
I think that kind of covers the second question
Mm.
a little bit. Do you think I should do the second bullet point?
I think we should start. Is there anything in particular that stood out to you about the student body at the school?
Yeah. Some kids were incredibly engaged every time I've come. Some kids have really struggled with being there, being present anywhere. I've never seen so many people having a difficult time making it work, and I've never seen such creative people making it work. And I came to realize that some folks who come here as students start out in that first camp of really struggling to be there and do stuff, and that the experience of being here rather than somewhere else brings them out of that place and into the second camp. So when that works, I think it's the best thing that the school does.
What will you take away from your time with HCA?
A lot of joy, a lot of pain, since the school is closing. I've learned a lot about education at this level. I knew about teaching college students, higher education. I didn't know more than my own experience really about education in middle and high school. I'm going to value what I learned about that, and I'm going to value the chance to have been part of this school, which does things for people who don't get done for all the time. It's also been incredibly frustrating. None of us have hindsight ahead of time. That's why it's called hindsight. And so there's going to be some heartache involved with the fact that we couldn't keep it going any longer.
I have just a little bit of a follow-up for the question before this one that I feel like is important to have. What do you think are the weaknesses of HCA? Where do you think it struggles?
It seems always to have been playing catch-up to itself. And I guess what I mean by that is that everything isn't completely under control enough to think ahead. There are always pieces that need to be picked up and too few resources to make that easy. So I think that's been a struggle from the get-go, trying to figure out how to make it work smoothly enough to be always planning ahead instead of reacting to problems that come up. I think we've struggled with enrollment, we've struggled with attendance, we've struggled with test scores. So, school performance it's always been a struggle, because for all the people who have made the transition to interest and excitement and performance, there's every year people coming in who aren't there yet. And so the overall picture always includes both people who are underperforming and people who are performing well and even overperforming. So there's never an even keel, and I think that's been hard too.
Okay, you may continue.
Can I do a quick side one? Because I think we in this last one just talked a little bit about kind of the relationship between, about the relationship between the board and HCA.
Yeah.
I think to help clear up for people who would be watching this, could you tell us more about what exactly is HCA's board? Like, if you had to define what that is, what is our board of?
Like, what does it do? What is it for?
What does it do? What does it do? What is it for?
Yeah.
And the relationship between the board and HCA.
Yeah.
Kind of do some clarification. So.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the
That
the
would
question
be the question
on
now.
there? Or, I mean, is it on there? Can I just answer it, or do we need to
You
formulate
can,
the question again?
This one you should phrase as a statement. Tell us about the board.
Okay.
And include to the audience
Yeah.
who's not hearing CF that this is a statement about the board.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So you're asking, what does the board do? What's it for? What's it like? The board's job is to make sure that the school is doing its job. For one thing, if the enrollment is suffering, it's our problem to help figure out why and to make sure the school does something about it. The other thing that the board is responsible for is financial stability. It's our job to make sure that the school is getting the resources it can and using them responsibly. We don't make decisions about the day-to-day running of the school. We don't hire and fire anybody except the head of school. It's not up to us to dictate what goes on in the classroom or who does what or what books you buy, unless somebody complains to us and then we have to step in. But it's our job to check in with the people running the school to make sure that they're running it the best that it can be. And we're answerable as a board to the Maine Charter School Commission, which has oversight of the 10 charter schools in the state. And so the school does what it does. We check to make sure that's going okay. We have the contract as a board with the commission. And so they check on us. And so there are these kind of layers of oversight. And then the Department of Education checks on them, and then the legislature checks on the Department of Education. So there's this giant pile of oversight going on all the time. But the board's role is general overseeing, not deciding what's going to be taught, deciding who gets hired, deciding what goes on during the day. We have to be very careful not to get involved in that, except to the extent that there are people on the board with expertise that the faculty or the administration might want to talk to and might want to say, hey, we're thinking about this, what's your take? Does that seem like a good idea? And if you guys ask for advice, we're there. But it's not up to us to say, you got to do this and this and this way. But boy, if performance is not up to snuff, it's one of the reasons that they didn't renew our charter was that it wasn't. The board is the one that hears about it from the commission.
All right. What challenges did you experience as a board member?
The challenge of it's not a challenge to do oversight right, but it is a challenge if you see things not going well to figure out how to help without interfering and how to insist that things have to go better without any role in helping to make them go better. In other words, we can't directly do anything about enrollment, but it's our problem if enrollment is low. So that's just a frustrating place to be. I think that's the kind of thing that's challenging. I can't say you have to write smaller.
When the news about school closure came, how did you feel? What changed throughout the year?
Make sure you have the words like, when I heard the school was closing, in this one.
When I heard the school was closing, I was brokenhearted. We knew in the previous spring that the financial situation was not sustainable with 2 campuses. And we had a choice to close the school then, to go on in an unsustainable way and see what happened, which is not something boards are supposed to do, or to consolidate to a more lean, mean campus and try to keep the school going. And because we have a board that believes so strongly in the school, rather than giving up at that point, we decided to fight. And it was quite a fight to get the Charter School Commission to agree to let us consolidate the campuses. But they did. And then in the fall, to lose the renewal vote by 1 vote, it required 5 out of 7 votes, and we got 4. Was deflating. It was true that we hadn't met the terms of the school's contract with the state, hadn't met the enrollment, the attendance, stuff we've talked about before. But that had been true in some other cases also. And we hoped that the state would work with us given that our graduation rate and our meeting of standards rate was so good that it showed the school was taking people who needed moving in a different direction and helping them to be able to do that so that they could succeed, and that should override the fact that at any given point not everybody was succeeding. They didn't buy that argument.
Could you go into a little more about what the fight looked like? You mentioned that we fought really hard.
Yeah.
What was that process like?
Yeah. We asked to consolidate the campuses, which we thought would be a fairly straightforward request because it was to a building that had already been approved because we were already in it. We were able to show that students would fit in the single campus and so forth. And so we put together a proposal, and the executive director, the head of the staff of the commission, recommended that they vote no and not let us do it. And this was in March last year. And so at their March meeting, instead of voting no or yes, they said, bring us a more detailed proposal and we'll look at it and think about it and vote on it in April. So we had a month, and we turned, I don't remember, a 7-page proposal maybe into a 125-page proposal. Massively detailed, largely spearheaded by MCF, who pulled the community together, figured out how people were going to fit in different rooms, how the class schedules were going to work, and she had help, but she took the initiative to do all of that and put together, with the rest of the administration, an amazingly detailed proposal. We brought it to the commission, and it passed. So that was kind of a surprise because usually the commission doesn't go against the recommendations of the executive director, but in that case they did. So that took a lot of work on everybody's part. And I was much involved in the actual writing of the proposal, but the data for it, was the work of the staff, led by MCF.
Can I have 1 second? I need to check something.
I should probably refer to her more officially.
When we get to interview her, most likely we're going to put in the lower crowd like Mel Christensen Fletcher.
MCF.
MCF.
Okay, I was going to say, should I? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, obviously.
People refer to both of us in that sort of context that we have to.
Right.
Like, put the thing in there.
Right.
Because most people who do mention Miss CF, it's MCF,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, so that's what I said, but I realized that if this is not for just internal consumption, then that'll be a little cryptic, but
Yeah.
you'll fix that.
We'll fix it.
Okay.
Yeah, I know there might be, Alexa, how's it going? Sorry. Is there a concern that I can help with?
No, I figured it out.
Okay. Ash can continue questions. I feel like, and Alexa, you can tell me if this is a good thing for us to do, but you might be the best person to talk about how the Charter Commission is structured a little bit. So at the end, we might ask you just a little bit about that for just common people's knowledge if they want to watch this.
Yeah. I don't actually know much, but I can sort of explain that there's 7 of them and they have staff. That's about it. I mean, there's 7 commissioners and a staff. Yeah.
Yeah. I think just that explanation would help.
Okay.
Just that that's what they're talking about when we mentioned this.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, fair.
So the Charter Commission is composed of 7 members.
Yeah. Do you want me to just say that now? I mean, you're going to intercut stuff, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the main Charter School Commission is a body with 7 people on it when it's at capacity. Some of them are appointed by the governor, and others, I'm not sure how they get on there. But the 7 of them have a staff, And school representatives and board representatives interact mostly with the staff. And then the staff interacts with the commissioners. But occasionally, we will appear before them or before one of their committees directly. So that's the main charter school commission.
Cool. What do you hope people who watch this will take away in regards to our school?
That it was necessary, that it did great good, that it helped a lot of people become stronger and more confident, and that had a good 10-year run. And I hope that people who watch this will understand that there was, the downside as well as the upside. Everything has a natural cycle. I was hoping that this school cycle would not be this short. But like every entity, you have the stuff that works and the stuff that doesn't work, and you do the best you can, and then you see in hindsight some things that you couldn't have seen before. But it's a wonderful enterprise and a model for what kids should experience when they're in school,
All right.
I think.
Is there anything else you would like to share, mention, or feel is important to say?
I think your questions were good enough that we've pretty well covered it.
I agree.
If you guys do,
Yeah.
great.
Allie, cut the cameras.
I ruined the paper.
Oh, no.
What we-
Oh, no.
What did you do?
Okay, wait.
Look at it.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
not
wait.
oh my God,
Before
that's
we-
like, probably looks better than most of the pieces of paper in my house.
Thank you for reminding me, Allie. Can we just
It doesn't
get-
have stuff spilled on it. It hasn't been eaten the corner off by a dog. It's good.
Can we just get you to
Speaking of
say
dog.
to the camera
Yes.
your name and position? Give me a sec to get it.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm Cynthia Schmerin, and I'm chair of the board of Harpswell Coastal Academy.
All right. Okay. I believe we're done.
Okay.
Dog.
See how Angie's doing with the dog? You go get